We're standing on the thin platform of what looks like a fancy subway. The rails look well used but not old. There are small overhead lights that are very dim, as if they're running out of emergency power. The dim overhead lights are a blessing, but the size of the place makes me feel vulnerable. Staring ahead, the tunnel seems to be endless. It's almost dizzying. But there's a small light further ahead, and then a space that breaks the monotony of the tunnel's curved surface. Another platform, maybe? I'll ask him his opinion. Dennis, what do you think of this? Looks like we're waiting for the D train, Dennis says with a deadly sounding cackle. Also, the ringing noise is louder down here. It's much more solid now, and there's some other sound. Something like the faint hum of machinery. What's your take on this, boss? You think we're safe here? Dennis asks. Not at all. This is what I think to not at all. This is what I think to myself. But I don't want to let Dennis see that I'm rattled. Well, he seems to be limping along much better than when we first stumbled into this place. God, that noise is so loud. While he seems to be limping along much better than when we first stumbled into this place, he's still in rough shape. I'm leading him here, and I should probably make him feel more confident in that. Yeah, that's probably true. Because there's no point scaring him. I don't know what we're doing. Yeah, we'll be fine. You reassure Dennis. We're too far in to go back, I say. Besides, if we get caught for trespassing, I'm pretty sure we'd slide by. We're good. You're in pain, and we've got to find the rest of our crew. They could still be somewhere. Dennis nods and looks reassured, albeit weak and miserable. From the looks of it, we can go either left or right. The left is slightly lit, and the right, not so much. This makes me feel uneasy because I get the sense that that one wrong turn in a place like this would have us wandering for hours. Suddenly I jerk my head to the right as I hear the unmistakable sound of someone walking. Did you hear something? I asked Dennis, my eyes straining to see anything in the darkness. Not sure, he says. Maybe. It kind of sounded like footsteps. I wait a moment, but the sound doesn't come again. So those are our options. To the left are flickering lights, indicating that we'll at least be able to see. There's also a hum of machinery, a sign of life. To the right is just darkness, but we also heard footsteps in that direction. Machinery doesn't necessarily mean life, though. Like, these are long tunnels. There could be machinery freaking everywhere. And who's to say that that same noise wouldn't be heard to our right, because the right, all the power is off. I'm gonna go right, because at least then, there's a chance we might run into somebody who's actually, gonna help us. You decided to go into the darkness. If there's anyone here, they're worth speaking to. Right it is. As we leave the glow of electric lights, things instantly start to feel a bit more sinister. I look at Dennis's injuries again. The gash along his side is inflamed now. And while the bleeding seems to have stopped, the amount that has soaked into his pants and shirt is beyond alarming. How much further can you walk? I ask him. Can you keep going? Yes, Dennis says. Let's walk into the deep, dark tunnel that has no business being here. He's right. The darkness we find ourselves in feels thick, like walking in syrup. I'm reminded of the fear I felt as a child when I had to go into the basement to fetch tools from my dad. I was sure there were snakes or spiders or monsters of unimaginable horror lurking down there. I feel the same way here, walking through the tunnel. That's when I see a human figure, far back in the tunnel, silhouetted in the faint light at the end. He's standing on some other platform up ahead, and likely can't see us. It looks like he might be holding a gun, but it's too dark to be sure. Oh crap. I really don't want to sneak up on a man in the dark who's holding a gun. Hey, who's there? My voice echoes through the tunnel, bouncing endlessly off the walls. The figure turns towards us and freezes, like a deer sensing danger. Why the hell did you do that? Dennis whispers to me. We don't know who that is. We don't know where we are. I don't know, I say. Maybe he can answer some questions. But that doesn't happen. The person can't see us in the dark, and after a moment, the figure rushes away through the door up ahead. Well, that was productive. As we head further into the tunnel, we reach another platform. There's light coming from the platform, but like the overhead lights, they're dim, red emergency lights. I start to wonder if the explosion at the logging site caused a power outage in this place, whatever this place is. The ringing noise that I originally thought was in my head is getting louder. I'm starting to think it's some sort of alarm. When we come to the large open area in the tunnel, it further resembles a subway station. As much as I try to ignore the reality, it's undeniable. We have stumbled into some sort of high-tech transportation system that is buried beneath the forests of Kentucky. It makes absolutely no sense and creates an entirely new sort of fear as to what the hell we've walked into. I notice that Dennis seems confident, though. When we reach the large opening, we have to climb over the rails and up onto the platform. I have to help Dennis over the rails and then up the small utility ladder that is bolted into the opposite side of the travelway. When he reaches the large open area resembling a subway waiting area, he collapses on the floor and lets out a heaving breath. You know what? Dennis says, exasperated. This is ridiculous. I quit. I'm not going any further. On top of worrying about my crew and the madness of wherever we are, I'm not in the mood for Dennis to act like a baby. I'm going to be reassuring. This guy is I'm supposed to be leading him through this. I'm not going to be a dick about it. He's injured. He's hurt. He's scared. Me being rough with him is not going to help. It's okay. Take it easy. You can do this. I'm not the one with the gash on my side, I think to myself. So I decide to cut him some slack. Damn, boss, I'm sorry, he says. It's okay, I say. I don't know how you're still on your feet, if I'm being honest. Stubbornness, he says with a weak laugh. You need a minute to rest? I ask, as warmly as I can muster. No. If I sit down to rest, I'm afraid I might not be able to get back up. Let's keep going while I can still go. I reach down, help him to his feet, and then get ourselves up onto the platform. Right in front of us, there's an entrance to the long hallway exiting the platform area. It's at this point that I realize these red emergency lights might be on for someone else who is actually supposed to be here. Like that guy I saw earlier, standing on a platform. I want him to know exactly where I am, because if I surprise a man in the dark, and he's a gun, he's going to kill me. He's going to kill me. I'm going to yell out. Hello? Anyone here? I ask, my voice raised to almost a shout. There's not much of an echo. My voice falls flat like a rock from the sky. I'm almost glad that I don't get an answer. Hearing anything else in this hollow silence would have given me a heart attack. The emergency lights continue to flicker overhead, casting a sick sort of pinkish light on everything. My mind is racing with what sort of place this might be. It's obvious that it's meant to be a secret. And if it is supposed to be a secret, and there was a power outage recently, maybe most everyone has been evacuated. But then why was that one person still here? This thought does nothing to make me feel any better as we walk towards the platform exit. We step inside and it seems just as empty as every other place we've come through, weakly illuminated by more overhead emergency lights. We're standing inside a hallway that looks surreal for a moment. The hallway reminds me of a hospital wing, but there's something not quite right about it. It's the first clean and tidy area I've seen coming to in the. It's the first clean and tidy area I've seen coming to in the woods. It looks like it was recently in use, despite the dim emergency lights overhead. There are chairs against the walls, and the floor looks well cleaned, as do the walls. The ringing noise is definitely coming from here, and a small flashing red light along the ceiling seems to flash along with it. That ringing noise is an alarm, I say, if only to confirm my own thought. But for what? Dennis asks, and then he asks the question that has been on my mind since we fell in that hole. What the hell is this place? We exchange a look that speaks volumes. We reach the end of the hallway and hear a sound like a large metallic grinding. This is followed by a clicking noise and then an unmistakable noise of a generator kicking on. Without warning, the facility jolts to life. The red glow of the emergency lights is suddenly replaced by bright white fluorescent ones. That mechanical hum is oddly comforting. Somehow the power being back on urges us on. It's then that I notice the ringing noise has stopped. So it had been an alarm, but for what? Just the power failure? We head down the hallway, the electric hum of the light sounding eerie overhead. Other than that, the place is dead quiet. The hall is about 100 feet long, with two main doors. One door opens onto a large room that looks like a conference room, with a whiteboard and papers strewn about. Across the hallway, another door looks like a laboratory of some sort. Dennis slumps against the wall in defeat and lets out a scary-sounding chuckle. Something funny? I ask as a dark and brooding panic starts to grip me. Dennis just keeps chuckling, and as he slides down to the floor. I'm just going to sit here while you look around, he says. There's a look in his eyes that reminds me far too much of a dead animal on the side of the road. Oh, crap. The lab might have first aid or something. Something I can use. Anything. Walking inside, I see small vials and glass containers held in a clear glass case. Everything is either glass or silver, and I instantly feel I am dirtying the place up. I notice several test tubes in glass cases, as well as some sort of tube system that seems to have a clear fluid trapped inside of it. In the back corner, I find a laptop in screensaver mode. I mean, I'm not a scientist, and I have no frame of reference for what these test tubes do. Maybe the laptop will have more answers? I hit the enter key, and the plain gray background pops up. There are several icons and folders to choose from. I click on a folder labeled Test 1.5 Ethos. A few documents are filled with formulas and names I mostly don't understand, but there are some things that are easy to understand. Things that make my blood go cold. Subject number 6, cause of death, embolism, or aneurysm, or both. Ideas for new delivery mode, spherical liquid. Induced comatose state first, TerraCore Co. equals possible plutonium supplier. Okay, so what are these test tubes then? I can't help but check out the test tubes. They're all filled with varying green and light blue fluids. One of them looks to have some sort of glowing dirt resting in the bottom of it. Another holds what looks like a grasshopper submerged in liquid, only it's the strangest grasshopper I've ever seen. At first, it looks like it's expanding and contracting, like a blowfish. Then it contracts so much that it vanishes completely. I take another look around the lab, trying to piece together what might have been taking place here. I smell some sort of chemical in the air, and it makes me think that someone has used this lab recently. Outside in the hallway, I hear Dennis grunting. I head out of the room to see him still seated on the floor. But I don't get very far because as I exit, a man comes rushing down the corridor with an automatic rifle in his hand. It's hard to look beyond his rifle, but the man carrying it is young, with messy dark hair. His skin is so pale that I wonder if maybe he lives down here. He has the look of a guy who's been cooped up for a little too long. He doesn't seem like the kind of person I'd trust with a gun in a stressful situation. As he sees us in the doorway, he screams and brings the gun up. It's aimed directly at my head. Dennis jumps up and stands next to me, like he's ready to run for it. I recognize him by his height and build. He's the person I could barely see back in the dark tunnel. I'm putting my hands up, man. I don't want to get shot. I put my hands in the air, surprised at how natural it feels to go into this surrendered state. Maybe it's because this feels like a dream. Maybe it's because I feel like I'll snap awake if the maniac pulls the trigger. Who are you and how did you get in here? The man asks harshly. Before we can answer, he continues speaking. I don't recognize you. If you're here, you would have had to have snuck by the security mics in the entrance hall. What? I ask, unable to think of anything else to say. Who are you? The man asks. Did you do this? The man eyes us both, and I see something in his eyes that unsettles me. He's scared, but there's something else. We're just loggers, man. His eyes look distant for a minute. Then he says, bullshit. But for some reason, I'm pretty sure he knows I'm telling the truth. Someone knocked the power out, the man says. It's back on now, but if it was out long enough, well, we're in a heap of trouble. Was it you? Who sent you? Look, we don't know what you're talking about, Dennis says. Something happened out in the woods. Are you alone? Are there others with you? The armed man asks, thrusting the gun into my face. How the hell did we get into this situation? I think to myself, if we hadn't fallen into that hole, we wouldn't be here. I'm not really sure if we want to be giving this guy information. We don't know anything about him. Then again, he might have answers. We're looking for our crew. We have other crew members that we can't find, I say. Your crew? He asks, seeming confused. If this man thinks that we're nuts, there's no telling what he might do. The fact that he looks a little crazy himself makes the situation even hairier. But how did you get in here? The man asks. I point down the hall towards the subway. We came in that way. The doors weren't locked. His expression calms a bit, but I'm still very aware of the gun that's leveled less than a foot away from my face. Please, put the gun down. The only way I'm putting this rifle down is after I've blown your brains out, the man says. With that, he uses the muzzle of the gun to flip my hard hat onto the floor. It's a childish move, a playground tactic at best, but it's sufficient to show me that he knows that he is in control now. He then levels the rifle at Dennis, and I can only assume it's because his wounds make him appear to be the weaker of us. The man takes a shaky step forward. Dennis looks back and forth between the barrel of the gun and me, his eyes pleading for help. Shoot. I'm gonna get shot for this. Before I'm fully aware of what I'm doing, I step out in front of Dennis. The barrel of the rifle is nearly touching my chest now. Both Dennis and the man seem a little confused at my action, and I do my best to swallow down my fear. I don't know what's going on here, I say, but we are here by mistake. Well, you have no business here, the man says. But now that the power's on, I think you might be too late anyway. For what? I ask. But he doesn't answer me. Instead, he steps forward and actually pushes me forward with the end of his rifle. The man then repeats a question he asked before, one that makes no sense and honestly makes me think he might be a little crazy. Who sent you? He asks. You assholes from the Pentagon? I'm not quite sure how to take this question. Is this guy joking? No, what the hell are you talking about? No, I say, we're just loggers. Something blew up and my friend got hurt. We're looking for the rest of our crew. Likely story, the man said, but I see a flicker of recognition in his face that makes me think he might believe me. Still, his grip on the gun is as tight as ever. The look on his face makes me think he'll shoot at any moment. You both just stand still, he says. Sooner or later, someone will come along and I'll turn you over. He again thrusts the gun forward, as if it has an invisible bayonet on it. There's no need for that, I tell him. I have no guarantee that he won't pull the trigger. Look, Dennis says, we don't want any trouble. We're just as confused as you are. Then, in a moment so fast that I just about miss it, Dennis lunges forward. I have no idea how he's moving so fast. Just 30 seconds ago, I was worrying about how close to death he looked. But now he's moving lightning fast, his left arm coming down on the barrel of the gun like a club. In the commotion, the man does pull the trigger. The booming noise is deafening, and there's a moment where I think I've been hit. It takes the clanging noise of the round tearing into the floor at my feet to help me realize that I have not been shot. I look at the floor to see where the shot had missed my right leg by less than 3 inches. I'm paralyzed in shock for a moment as Dennis and the man fight over possession of the rifle. There's a fire extinguisher on the wall. I could use it as a bludgeon, but I might not have enough time to grab it before Dennis gets overpowered. No, fuck this guy. I'm hitting him. Dennis is the man pinned to the floor, but isn't strong enough to keep him down. As I fall to the floor to help, the barrel of the rifle swings right in front of my face, a reminder of how close I had come to being shot. On my knees now, I deliver a hard, stiff punch to the man's face. I don't punch someone often. Never really. I'm not usually the brawling type. Still, it is apparently effective. The man's head snaps back hard, and his grip on the gun loosens. Dennis grabs the gun and falls to the floor, clearly winded and in pain. Our attacker is immobilized, and I can feel the shift in the situation. Yet, although he is basically harmless now, I feel the need to pummel him, a desire that builds with each second I look at him. There's no point. I wanted him off my friend. That's the only reason I attacked him. Stand up and step back. He's definitely out now, no threat. Or at least that's what I think. But he surprised me by mustering up one more swift kick in my direction, connecting with my forehead. My eyelid swells to the size of a grape almost immediately. It seems like this last attack is more to spite me than to defend himself. I stumble back and ready myself for another round of blows, but he just slouches onto the floor. He's done. Dennis instantly hands the rifle over to me, and I take it with shaking hands. I can't believe you stepped between me and that gun, Dennis says. He could have killed you. I was pretty sure he wouldn't, I said, although I had known no such thing. Still, thanks, man. That was some heroic stuff. You would have done the same for me, right? Dennis says nothing. His eyes look to the floor. What do we do now, boss? Dennis asks. We've come this far, and I want answers. I sense that Dennis does too. I walk over and pick up my hard hat off the floor. After placing it on my head, I turn towards the man. We get answers from this guy. No answers, the man says. I don't have any. Next time, I won't just hit you, I say, plunging the rifle towards him. Now get up. He obeys quickly, but his legs are wobbly and he leans against the wall for support. I can feel my swollen eyelid from where he kicked me earlier. I just hope it doesn't get so bad that it affects my sight. Okay, let's move, I say, pointing the gun further down the hallway. We've come this far, and I'm not going to let this guy stop us. We walk down the hallway until we come to the end. A single elevator waits for us. Its steel sliding doors larger than a normal elevator. Before I get into the elevator with this guy, I think it's wise to learn a bit more about him. I can tell it's making him uncomfortable for me to have the gun. What's your name? I ask. Marcus. And you work here? It's clear that he doesn't want to answer, but he gives a little nod. We're looking for the rest of our crew. Any idea where they might be? I ask. No, he says curtly, not bothering to elaborate. There's got to be some useful info we can get out of this guy. I just need to know how to dig for it. I need a first aid kit for my friends here, I say. Where might we find one? Down on the second floor, he says, but we can't go down there. What's on level 2? He looks at me like I'm an idiot. He looks at me like I'm an idiot. You must be aware you're inside of a classified government facility, he says. It makes sense, but I want to doubt it. Well, I'm sure our government will want you to help save my friend, so take me to the first aid kit. I can't, he says. You don't have clearance. Hell, I barely have clearance. Then seemingly to himself, he mutters, I make this place run. And not even a thank you, just a bunch of restricted access rooms that I'm only allowed to go into with a freaking chaperone. I interrupt his monologue. We're going to get that first aid kit. I could lose my job, he says. I wonder for a moment what sort of trouble I could get in for hitting a government employee. This makes me glad I took it easy on him. Then again, he had come at us with a rifle. It makes me think that things have gone terribly wrong in the first place. And the explosion in the woods, or whatever the hell had happened, might have linked to it all. I need to convince him to take us to the second floor, but I'm not sure if it would be more productive to threaten him or ask for sympathy. I'm going to ask for help. There's no point in being overly violent. Look, I say, it hasn't been the best day. We're just trying to find out what's going on, to find our crew, to survive. I know that this isn't a normal situation down here. It looks like all your protocols have been blown to hell. Can't you help us out? He looks at me sternly, weighing his options. Okay, he says. Thank you, I say. With an untrusting stare, Marcus walks to the elevator door, approaching a small keypad by the doors. He punches in a numerical code on the keypad, and we can hear a slight mechanical hum behind the steel doors. After a few seconds of angry glances and frightened sneers from Marcus, the elevator door arrives. The steel doors slide open with a whisper, revealing the interior. It's exceptionally well lit and looks to be made of stainless steel. I half expect the thing to take off at light speed. There's another small keypad on the front right panel by the door with the options for 3 sub-level floors. Looks like this elevator doesn't go to the surface. So after we get the first aid kit for Dennis, how do we get out of here, I ask? We can't leave, Marcus says. Once the power came back on, the whole place was put on lockdown. What? I shouted. Can't you override it? No, it's to prevent anything from getting out. I can't. Marcus looks as deflated as Dennis. We can't get out? We're stuck here? Dennis leans into the corner and almost falls onto the floor. The struggle for the rifle took a lot out of him. I can see that much in his face. Slowly, we start to move down. The hum and grind of the car's motors fill the space. So we're stuck here forever? Marcus scowls at me. I think it's a fair question. It doesn't seem unreasonable to assume we won't be able to get out of it, that he won't be able to get us out. We'll find somebody with the access codes, and they'll be begging me to figure out how to lift the lockdown. These people think they're so brilliant, but some of them can barely turn their computers on without help. The top coder in my class at MIT, and I'm stuck living underground helping idiots who don't even trust me with the keys. What goes on here? Marcus shakes his head. You may as well shoot me, I can't tell you. Why not? It's beyond classified, and things I know don't even cover the start of it. What does that mean? I ask, starting to get irritated. It means that even if I wanted to tell you what sort of work is done here, I don't know enough about it. So what's your job then? I handle the IT work and make sure the databases are up and running. It's a 24/7 job and I haven't seen sunlight for almost a year. I wonder what staying in a place like this for that long would do to someone's mind. I was recruited, he continues. Because of the workload, no one else wants this job, but I don't really mind being by myself. No family. Plus the IT, it's some crazy shit. Crazy how, I ask. This place generates over 100 terabytes of data per day, he answers, getting the slightest bit excited before his face falls again. What happened here? Seems like some sort of power outage, Marcus says. That's all I know. There was an outage and then what? Dennis asks weakly. Then things got weird. Things got bad. Bad how? I ask. The whole place seemed to shake when the lights went out. I was checking the monitors when it happened and everything went dead. It took no more than a minute or so before I started hearing screams. People were being killed by something. I tried getting the security cameras going again, but they only lasted for a little bit on my backup systems. But what I saw? What? I ask, feeling a sharp fear worm its way into my guts. Well, what I saw on the screens for that little bit of time made no sense. It made me get the gun from the emergency vault. I think whatever it is, it's still down here. Hold on, I say. There's an emergency vault with a rifle in the same room as the security cameras in this place? Marcus gives me a grin that looks nearly insane. There are guns locked away in every room in this place. Just in case, you know? So we're still in danger here. As he opens his mouth to answer, the elevator comes to a stop and the doors slide open. Marcus is out right away, without a word. He makes his exit and heads directly to the glassed-in room that is filled with computer monitors and high-end equipment. Dennis and I file out behind him, trying to keep up. As we do, one very alarming question runs through my head. What the hell kind of government facility keeps loaded guns in emergency vaults in every single room? End of Chapter 2. Curiosity. You and 58% of players called out to Marcus when you saw him in the tunnel. Selflessness. You and 64% of players stepped in front of Dennis to protect him from Marcus. Mercy. You and 65% of players were easy on Marcus after he surrendered. Okay, so this time I was a little more on the side of everyone else who was playing this game. Like, a lot of the choices that I made this time around were still just I'm supposed to be a leader. Dennis can't really defend himself because he's injured. So I have to be making the right calls. I didn't want to be... I can't really afford to be timid in this situation. So, once again, if you had choices that differed from mine, or if you had choices that were similar to mine, feel free to tell me why you made those choices in the comments, and if you think I made the right choice. And what you think of the story so far. I'm loving it. This is a lot of fun. I'm really excited to continue with Chapter 3 and 4 for Saturday. It's going to be a crazy ride, because, already we're into, some freaky shit. But that's going to do it for me, for the time being. So without further ado, roll the outro. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, feel free to leave a like or a comment down in the comment section below. And why not subscribe and join the Cup Collective today? And if you have a friend or family member that you think might enjoy my content, feel free to recommend me to them. That being said, I want to thank you all again, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Goodbye for now.